My name is Stephen Grady, and I'm Chief of Staff for your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones, who, along with Local 22, Percy Johnson, sponsored this event today. Can I get a round of applause for the Council President and Local 22? And I can see our Council President coming up to the podium to introduce Judge Deborah Thomas. So without further ado, here's Council President Brenda Jones.
Good afternoon to everyone. Oh, I know I see more people than that. Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon. All right, all right. It is good to see you all in here today. I always say that it is good when someone wants to help themselves. And so we're here to help you to help yourself. I want to thank Percy. Percy?
We got Percy.
Come on out and wave. I want to thank Percy at right here from UAW Local 22. I want to. I want to thank the president of this local for allowing us to grace their space and use up their electricity. And now, without further ado, I want to thank the officers as well and the camera crew and our sponsors, because I still see people walking around with pizza, so that means that we've had good sponsors. We had a job fair, and Minnie was around for that, so thank all the vendors that were here to help get jobs. We also will be having our next Skilled Trades Task Force meeting in September, where we have the unions, the developers, and everyone who come out who are there to try to get you into their apprenticeship programs. They talk about their apprenticeship programs, and so we invite you to come to our next Skilled Trades Task Force meeting. We go out into the community every month with the exception of August and December. We have the Skilled Trades Task Force. So if you are here and you're looking for employment, you're looking for a career, because I always say it's not a job. Getting into the skilled trades is not a job, it's a career. And they are felony friendly, and they are willing to help to assist, and we need to have more Detroiters, because as the city builds, there is an executive order that says you have to have so many 51% Detroiters if you are receiving taxpayer dollars. So they need to hire and get some more Detroit apprenticeship people into the trades. So without further ado, I am going to introduce several people. I want to acknowledge Keith Bennett from Flip the Script. Keith, all the way in the back of the room. Goodwill, Flip the Switch. Laura, raise your hand. Laura, Best Career. All right. They're in the back as well. And I might be missing someone, and if I'm missing you, blame it to my head and not my heart, because we want to get on with this program. I would like to introduce to some, present to others, my friend, a wonderful judge, a sister that tells it the way it tis. She don't hold back. She don't try to be polite with it. She just tell you what you need to know in order to help yourself. And so if you don't know Judge Deborah Thomas, if you've never had an opportunity to hear what she has to say, because she will tell you the way it is. Yes. She will truly tell you the way it is. This is the woman that you need to know. And so I would like to introduce and present to some none other than our judge, Y'all gonna find out she our judge for real, because she gonna tell you stuff that you need to know, and you gonna be saying, she is our judge. I judge Judge Deborah Thomas.
It is a joy and a pleasure for me to be here. And I want to give great shout out to my girlfriend, okay, Council President Brenda Jones. She did this last year, and I know we're gonna do it again next year.
We're going to be doing it at Cobo Hall next year because we're starting to run out of space and we want to help everyone.
Yes, I think the last one we had folks sitting on the floor.
That's right.
So we are definitely, I want to thank Percy for, I think I was over here twice last year. So I have been giving these forums, I sat down and had to think about it, and I'm going to just say it's been more than 10 years, okay, and the law has changed, all right, the law has changed, and some of that is because people who have come to the forums have left, and they have contacted their state rep, their state senator, and we're going to talk about how all these folks play into this process and about the fact that if you are a convicted felon and you are on probation, you don't even have to be off probation. You on probation. You on parole. You on the street. You can vote. You ought to be voting because you got an issue. You got an issue. And you can look around this room and see how many other voters got that issue. All right, and I've already done one in Flint this year. I'm on my way to Grand Rapids in a couple weeks. All right, so it's not just Detroiters. All right, so you need to vote in a block, and you need to let everybody run in what your issue is. Because I have been giving these forums for so long, I have worked out a process that allows us to give out the most information in the least amount of time. When we leave here, you will leave with a packet. But I don't pass the packets out to the end. Because if I got to stay to the end, you gonna stay to the end. All right? Plus, I get to saying something, folks figure, oh, that don't cover me. I'm out of here. Okay, go on and leave if you want to. I'm gonna let you know right now. I'm gonna talk about expungements, but I got this other process you don't hear much about. And I like to say, if you can't get it coming through the front door, you might be able to get it coming through the back door. What do you care which door you came in, as long as when you walked out, you had what you needed. But I'm not going to discuss that back door until I finish with all the stuff in the front door. So I suggest you stick around. As we have given the forms, one of the things that we have discovered is that people don't know what's on the record. You went down to court, you were scared when you got there. All right? You came back second, third time around, the lawyer finally came up to you. The lawyer said, well, if you plead to this, you won't go to jail and you won't go to prison. You ain't heard nothing else the lawyer said. Because that's all you wanted to know. I ain't going to jail, I ain't going to prison, I'm in. What I got to do? So we've had people who have come up during the question and answer, and they said, well, I done tried 2 or 3 times. They won't even take my papers. And then I look at what they brought, and I says, well, baby, that's because you don't have anything to expunge. That's why they won't. I've been to the courthouse. Yeah, you've been to the courthouse. We've got about 6, 7. Some of them are laws, some of them are programs, that if you went through that program, if you were sentenced under that law, that particular conviction has already been sealed, Now, this is important because, say due to some unfortunate circumstances, you showed up back down at the courthouse again, all right? Well, that one that's been sealed is still gonna count in a way, but it will not necessarily stop you from getting the expungement. You've been asked on all these applications, have you been convicted of a felony? You've been checking the yes box. You might have should have been checking the no box because your conviction may already be sealed. The one that is the most popular, been around the longest, is most often used, is what we call HIDA. All right, and HIDA is an acronym for the Homes Youthful Trainee Act. This has been on the books since Coleman Alexander Young was in the state Senate. Now, you know that's going back a ways, okay? So you may be sitting up in here now, but I'm pretty sure that you might have been eligible for HIDA whenever your case came up. HIDA is a program that was designed with the thought that sometimes young people make bad decisions because they're still young people. All right, so what the goal is, if we provide them with some services, they get over it and they go on with their life. HIDA is a program where the age has varied throughout the years. Now, felonies for adults start in Michigan at age 17. You got to be 18 to vote for the folks who wrote that law, 21 to buy cigarettes, but in Michigan at 17, you're automatically charged as an adult. There's no age limit. If the prosecutor decides they're going to charge you at 13, so be it. Nothing the judge can do about it, nothing your mama do about it. That's the way it is. The age has shifted from, say, 17. At one time it was 21. It's up to about 24 now, 23. But if it was your first conviction, sometimes your second, I've even given out a third HIDA. I had one fella came in, he had 7. I ain't giving out no 7 HIDAs. You're going to figure it out one way or the other, but it's not going to be no 7 HIDAs. All right? Most offenses were covered or are covered under HIDA. If you were sentenced under the HIDA program, this was your second, maybe first offense, you could have been placed on probation or in prison for up to 3 years. You had to report, you had to drop the whole 9 yards. If you successfully completed your sentence, okay, everybody put your phone on vibrate. Put it on vibrate now, okay? Okay, thank you. All right, and if it is Jesus, let me know. I got a few requests. All right, I'm gonna get in where I can fit in. If you got HIDA and you successfully completed your sentence, then your conviction was sealed. Your conviction was sealed. Now, that means that employers generally can't get it. Now, the government's gonna always get your information, okay? The government's always got access. But your conviction was sealed. So if you were sentenced under HIDA, when asked if you've been convicted of a felony, unless you're planning to be a police, going in the military, you should be checking the no box. Down at the courthouse, we take phones. I'm just letting y'all know, okay? We take phones. Another program that we have is one that we call 7411. That's the number on the statute. 7411 are convictions for possession of a controlled substance. Now, you may have come in charged with possession with the intent to deliver, and your lawyer may have bargained it down, and you may have pled to possession of a controlled substance. If you were convicted, if the final charge was possession of controlled substance, and this was the first time you got caught, so that's the first time you was down there, all right? Hey, I didn't know you were here. Good, come on over here, because I'm going to throw you the ball. Attorney Jeremy Henner, he helped me to establish our Veterans Treatment Court, and he's done forums with us before. If you were sentenced under 7411, you did your probation. At the close of that probation, that conviction was sealed. That conviction was sealed. So if you're being asked if you've been convicted of a felony, that was your offense, you ought to be checking the no box. You ought to be checking the no box. We have another one where we call plea under advisement. Plea under advisement is a situation where you stood before the judge, you told him what you did, because you did do something, okay? And the judge said, well, I'm gonna think about it. And the judge can think about it for up to a year. And they told you, go on over to probation, they're gonna set you up, you're gonna have to drop, you're gonna pay a little money, you might have to do a little volunteer service, but at the end of the year, you come back. And I'm gonna make up my mind based on what you did during that year, what I'm gonna do. Now, if you successfully completed what that year's worth and you came back to the judge said, okay, well, I'm going to dismiss this one, all right? You know, I know that wasn't you. You got caught up that day. That wasn't the normal routine. So if you got a sentence where it was a plea under advisement, that conviction does not count. You do not have that conviction. You should be checking the no box. We have one provision that's under the domestic violence statute. All right, so if this was the first time you got caught with some domestic violence and you down at the courthouse, all right, you may have been sentenced under a provision which is the same. After a year, all right, you did that 26-week program, you paid that money, and you might have been charged with 2 counts. You might have had a felonious assault and a domestic violence. All right, you could have got the felonious assault could roll, but if that domestic violence was up under that provision after that year, that conviction is sealed. That conviction is sealed. We also have, this is the best one, we have what we call the diversion program. The diversion program is a program where you come in, it's mostly, those cases usually about some money. You done tore up somebody something. You done stole somebody something. All right, and the folks want their money, so they go buy a new one, whatever it was. All right, if you were placed under diversion, now this is the cream of the crop right here. You got to come up with the money, might have to do a little community service, but when you come back to the judge and you've satisfied the conditions of the diversion program, we destroy the fingerprint and arrest cards and dismiss the case. Now, some folks get on diversion and they don't come back. Okay, I don't know why you wouldn't come back. We're gonna destroy the arrest card, the fingerprint card, all that. I've seen where some judges have issued a capias for arrest because you didn't come back. All right, so if you are fortunate enough to get on that program, come on back, get your paperwork so we can destroy the fingerprint arrest cards. All of these programs are important because it's going to come into play as we go forward. The law in Michigan about expungements is the same across the state. And in order to find out what is in your record, there is one place that you can go, all right? It's on the internet, and the internet address is going to be in the papers, but I'm going to give you the shortcut internet because we're going to do that HTTP dot whatever. Okay, don't even go there. It's called iChat, ICHAT.com, iChat. iChat, if you go on that site, will give you what is the state says is in your record. All right, you can print it off for $10. You need a debit card or a credit card, preferably your own. All right. Yeah, you know, get a prepaid card, okay? And you can print off what is on iChat as being what the state says is in your record. And this expungement process is about your state conviction. We got a whole nother conversation when we start talking about the federal, which I'm only gonna hit on briefly, because we get more state than we get the federal. They're gonna ask you some information, some identifying information. You're gonna put that in there, they're gonna bring your record up. It is important that you do that first. Now, I'm going to give you enough information today that hopefully when you walk up out of here, you can do your own expungement. You're going to get some instructions, they're in writing. I'm going to give you the application form. I'm going to give you the order, all that. All right? The hope being if, okay, you can do this yourself. This is what we're trying to accomplish. And even if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, there's some things you can do before you go see the lawyer to save yourself some money. And I like lawyers, but I like saving money too. So the first thing you need to do is go on iChat. And you may discover that they got something in your record you don't know nothing about. So you need to go see, get that straight. Because I know I didn't do this. I did some other stuff, but I didn't do this. That will give you an insight as to what is in your record. Now, you can get up and run out if you want to, but like I said, I'm not telling you about the back door till it's over. The state law currently says that you can qualify for an expungement if you have 1 felony and up to 2 misdemeanors. 1 felony and up to 2 misdemeanors. All right? Driving offenses cannot be expunged. However, they no longer stop you from expunging something else. Now, when I say offenses cannot be expunged, that's like you're driving while impaired, those types of things. And I'm gonna go back here a couple times. If you think that's unfair, you think that's unreasonable, you've been sober for 20 years, you ought to have a chance like everybody else, then you need to be making a noise. You need to be calling loud. You need to be talking to your state reps. You need to be talking to your state senators. Some other folks you need to talk to, but we're going to get to that as we go along. All right, because that's how we get the law changed. When I started this, it was only 1 felony or 1 misdemeanor and nothing else. Okay, you couldn't even have an ordinance violation. All right, but the choir got to singing because I got tired of doing the solo, okay? So choir better keep singing if you want some changes. Life offenses and attempt life offenses cannot be expunged. Your robbery arms, your carjacking cannot be expunged. Do not get them run out the door because I got something else to say on that. Criminal sexual conduct 1, 2, and 3 cannot be expunged. Criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree, depending upon when it occurred, if it was more than 2, 3 years ago, they are still expungible. Criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree, that's basically, you was walking by somebody, ooh, that's the prettiest booty. Pat, okay? And she took offense to it. That was one time when you could have just left it to the talking. All right? No touching. So criminal sexual conduct in the 4th degree is still expungible. When do I begin the process, Judge? When do all this start? You may file your application for expungement 5 years after you come off of probation or parole, or if you got immediate sentencing. All right, you had already did 90 days. They gave you 90 days. 5 years from the date of sentencing. That's when you can file your application. There's some things you need to be doing before them 5 years. You need to understand that expungement is a privilege born and raised in Detroit, on the north end. I'm now on the east side, which don't mean I never lived on the west side. All right, yeah. See, there y'all, that kind of stuff disrupts my thought process. You better turn them phones off. Expungement is a privilege, not a right. It's a privilege. That means you going in there asking. Some of y'all going in there begging. That James Brown down on one knee. Okay, if necessary, go there. Okay, it's only for a minute. All right. Go there. And because it's a privilege and not a right, when you go to court, you got to come right. You got to be prepared. You got to come right. The question, when you go before the judge, there's only one question only. What have you done to give back to society since getting off of probation, parole, date of sentencing? What have you done to give back to society? I'm going to break it down for you. Have you volunteered your services anywhere? Anywhere? Did you do something for somebody else where you didn't have to get paid? That's the question. All right, so during that 5 years, you might want to work on that. So when you get to court, you can demonstrate that you have given back to society. Do not go before the judge. Well, I didn't really do it. It was my cousin Bob, but you know, Bob, he was on his way to college, so I took it because, you know, I wasn't going nowhere. I hadn't even finished high school. Don't go there. Okay? I only played to it because my mama, she was having a nervous breakdown, and she begged me, don't go there. That ship has sailed. Don't even bring that up, because all you going to do is irritate the judge. And promise you, one thing you don't want is irritated judge, especially when it's your judge. You have to take your application back to the judge that sentenced you. So if your case came out of Oakland County, you going back to the Oakland County judge. If your case was over in Washtenaw County, you're going to the Washtenaw County. If you was in Recorder's Court, you going back down to Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. Well, you know that my eviction was, that was 30 years ago. That judge dead and gone. We've got a system where we assign cases. Judges get promoted, they retire, they die, we people too. They reassign the case. So that means everybody in here can't come running down talking about, here, Judge Thomas, I want my expungement. You're gonna go back to the judge or successor judge that gave the conviction in the first place. When you get to court, come right. Okay, come right. Gentlemen, it's called a belt. Them little loops that's at the top of your breeches, you couldn't figure out what that's for? A belt, long, narrow thing, you know, bigger for some than for others. Pull your breeches up. I don't want to see your underwear. Do not come down there in your wife beaters. And I have locked some folks up about some stuff that was on their T-shirts. If you gonna say it, be bold enough to say it. But if you silly enough to wear it up in there, I can help you with that because I got matching outfits, tops and bottoms. Ladies, I don't want to see everything the Lord blessed you with. Leave your halter top and your hoochie mama shorts at home. Now, some of y'all gonna say, well, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no job, I can't buy no clothes. Okay, you don't have to have a three-piece suit. A button-down shirt and some slacks. A blouse, okay? I ain't got all that. Salvation Army down here on 4th Street, okay? All right, Salvation Army. I don't wear no clothes somebody else had on. You was wearing some clothes somebody else had on when you was in prison. The jail. You only got to have them on for a couple hours. And they got some good stuff. Don't tell me I couldn't find nothing. Okay, from hat on down. When you leave up out of there, you don't want to deal with it no more, burn it as part of your celebration. All right? So dress it up. Dress it up, because you're asking for something. The application for expungement is only 1 page long. Okay? It's not an all-day thing. But you got some information you have to put on here. You can get that information by asking for a register of action. Register of action. Go to the court clerk. Give them your case number. You don't have no papers with your case number on it. Give them your name, your birth date. Make sure they pulling you up, not somebody that used your name, which I will really get you for, because I don't like that. The register of action will tell you what days you were in court, who the judge was that day, name of the prosecutor for the day, who the defense attorney was for the day, and most importantly, who the court reporter was. Because when you get your information from iChat and there's something in there that's not right, you may need to order a transcript. and the name of the court reporter and their ID number is going to be in the Register of Actions. Because they're going to ask you, when was you convicted? I don't remember the date. I tried to forget it. Register of Actions. When you complete your application, you have to mail off copies to various government agencies who all get to put a word in on whether or not they think you should get an expungement. All right? You're going to have to mail a copy to the state attorney general, who's going to send the judge a letter. If you know who the state attorney general is, raise your hand. But y'all voted. All right? If you know the state attorney general's position on whether or not folks ought to be able to get an expungement, raise your hand. Yeah, that's fewer yet. Where was you when we was having the town hall meeting candidates night? Because I know you was at the poll when it came time to vote for the person you don't know what position is on expungement. You have to mail a copy, or in Wayne County, you can deliver a copy to the prosecutor of the county in which you got convicted. If you know who the county prosecutor is for Wayne County, raise your hand. If you know the prosecutor's position on expungement, raise your hand. But you was voting, right? You was voting. Again, I say to you, it is important that if you have a conviction for a felony, you vote. But you have to be an informed voter. We elected, 20-some-odd judges in Wayne County last year. How many of you know what their position was on expungement? Raise your hand. But you was voting for them. Might be the very same judge you got to go back in front of. When you had a chance, you should have been asking them, what's your position on expungement? I'm just saying. And for those of you who are not comfortable speaking in public, you don't even have to come up with a full sentence. All you have to do when they get to the question and answer part, all you got to do is say, expungement. They don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to suggest me, but that's not your candidate. You might want to talk to them afterwards, pull them over in a corner, explain a few things. State reps, state senator candidates, they all going to end up running for governor, attorney general, something. You need to be at the candidate forum. You need to make your issue known. Elected officials, politicians respond to the loudest voice on what the issue is, because they want the votes. You don't say anything, don't look for them to say anything. You need to make it a point to make your issue the issue. Some folks only voting for folks who promise not to raise their taxes. Expungement. When you file your application, and the list of the parties that you have to send a copy of the application to is in the packet. All of the addresses except for the prosecutor's address is in the packet. It's like 20-some-odd prosecutors in Michigan, so we weren't gonna kill that many trees. You have to serve a copy. You gotta prove you sent it. How you gonna prove you sent it? Send it certified mail, receipt requested. Certified mail, receipt. Do not restrict the signature. I promise you the Attorney General is not going to come out of his office, come up to the front counter, and sign your card. Certified mail, return receipt. When you get down to the courthouse and the judge say, well, I didn't get no letter from the Attorney General, well, I got the receipt, they got it. Judge got to keep moving forward. The suggestion is that you make about 5 copies. I'm going to say 7. Because you're going to mail one off and everybody else going to send theirs back except for one somebody. And you're going to go to calling. Well, I ain't heard from you. They're going to say, we don't know nothing about you. So if you got to mail it a second time, you don't have to start all over again. You got an extra copy. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I have had people come down to the courthouse. I ain't got no application. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, Judge, not a problem. Here, got you a copy too. Have an extra copy. You have to send a copy to the state police because they're going to do a background check. They're going to send the report to the court, to you, we're going to talk about that too, as to what is in your background. You got 22 felonies. They're going to send that in. In order for them to process your background, they got to get your fingerprints. So they can do a fingerprint check. Now, this is one of the places you can save some money. Now, you can go to the lawyer, and you and the lawyer can discuss. The disappointment is for the break of them going over to the state police post with you. And then you can get in the lawyer's car, and the lawyer can drive you to the state police post. And you can get a number, and you can sit in the lobby. You can wait your turn. Half hour later, when your number come up, you and the lawyer can go to the back. Then you and the lawyer can stand there by the officer, take your prints. When the officer get finished, you and the lawyer can go over to the sink and you can wash your hands. The lawyer can pull down the tissue and hand it to you. Then you and the lawyer can get back in the car and drive back to the lawyer's office. When you get back to the lawyer's office, you can have a seat in the lawyer's office. Y'all can discuss about, okay, it's going to take some time for this to come back. I'm going to call you when it come in. You know, them Tigers, they won 3-4 in a row. Then the lawyer going to escort you to the door. Then the lawyer going to send you a bill. Because it took about 3.5 hours to do all that. And at $400 an hour, you going to pay. They're your fingerprints. They're attached to your hands. You could just go to the state police post, tell them I'm putting in for an expungement. I need my fingerprints done. Save yourself $300-400. The law has been changed where the state police can charge you $50. Yeah, that was a change they made. Now, I don't know that they told the state police that, because some of them are still doing it for free. There's a police post over, what is that, on Coolidge and 9 Mile, 10 Mile? Yeah, 696 Coolidge area. They tell me on Thursdays they doing it for free. All right, and now I would suggest that just in case they ask you for the $50, you carry $50. But other than that, I'm like, okay, don't ask, don't tell. Okay? We anticipate that the total cost of filing or processing your application may run as high as $150, $200 if you do it yourself. However, if you have a bridge card, when you go to file your application, in Wayne County, it's the 9th floor, that's the clerk's office, Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. Well, I stumbled over that one. We are doing some justice down there, though. Take your bridge card. Present your bridge card to the clerk when you're filing your application. They will use that to determine that you are indigent, and they will waive the filing fee. They will waive the filing fee. When you ask for a copy of your register of action, they can charge you for that. Take your bridge card. Take your bridge card. Take some money just in case, but take your bridge card. When you file your application, you have to sign it, and it has to be notarized. If you wait till you get to the clerk's office, they will notarize it for you. If you got an account with a bank or something where they'll do it for free, have them notarize your signature. Do not sign it and then take it in. You have to be standing there with ID in order to have your signature notarized. It has to be notarized. After you filed your papers, you got your fingerprints, you're waiting on your response. Depending upon which county you're in, your case is in, will depend on when you will get your court date. They tell me in Oakland County, when you file your papers, they will give you your court date that day. That's not how we do business in Wayne County. In Wayne County, which is the biggest county with the most people, they will tell you that we will contact you when all of the responses are in, when they done got the letter from the Attorney General, when they done got the printout from the state police, when the prosecutor done said what they got to say, they done put it all together in a file, then they're gonna tell you when to come down to court. Some of your files are so old that they're in the warehouse. It may take 3 to 5 days just to get your file, because it's over in the warehouse. In Wayne County, say it's been 6 weeks and you want to know, well, okay, am I going to get a court date soon? The clerk's office is going to give you the judge that's going to hear your case. And they're going to tell you, call the courtroom. When you call the courtroom, the court staff is going to answer. Might be the clerk, might be the administrative assistant, might be the deputy. We get the same deputies every day. Now, you can call down there and you can say, I filed it, you working for me, I'm a taxpayer. How come I ain't heard from you? I'm tired of waiting. I've been waiting so long. Y'all don't know what y'all doing down there. I don't understand how come I ain't got a court date yet. Okay. Do that. Because it's the staff that's going to set your court date. And they're going to tell me, this person done called here 6 times. I done told them when to call back, but they're going to call back 3 or 4 times a day anyway. And every time they call, they get one step short of cussing me out. Then you're going to come up in front of me and say, can I have my expungement, please? Sure. I would suggest that when you call, you know, I filed that application, and I've been waiting. You know, I sure would like to get that date. I got a job that's possible. When you think it might come? Okay, well, I'm going to call you back in a week like you say. Then you call back in a week. Oh, it's still not there? You know, the folks on the 9th floor told me it was, you know, they had sent it down there. Okay, well, I appreciate you. I'm going to call you back in another week. Then you call back the next week. Oh, how's your day going? Yeah, I'm still trying to get that court date. You know, I don't know. Can you see what's happening with the file? Because what's going to happen? The court staff, that person has called down here 6 times. Every time they call down here, I feel bad because I got to tell them I don't have the file yet. I'm going to go find that file, okay? Somebody going to make a file if I can't find the file, because I'm tired of them calling down here sounding pitiful and sad, polite and friendly. Shoot, I know their kid's name by now. You can get more with sugar and honey than you can with vinegar. And this is something you want, something you want. I'm going to give you a copy of the order. I suggest you run out about 5, 6 copies of that. Okay? Have it filled out. You can print. You don't have to have the application typed. It just has to be legible. So you can print the application. All right? Some courtrooms will print out the order for you. Some of them, you know, I work for the county. Some days we don't have ink. Some days we don't have paper. All right? Sometimes we have ink and paper, but the machine's not working. I suggest you bring your copies with you, just in case. Again, better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. There, you need to file a copy or mail a copy of the order to various agencies that you did contact, in particular the keeper of the record for the Department of Corrections. The keeper of the record for the Department of Corrections. I'm gonna touch on a few more things and I'm gonna make sure I didn't miss something. If your case was criminal sexual conduct, you had to get on the registry, the sexual registry. There has been a change in the law regarding the sexual registry. We have what we call the Romeo and Juliet Act. If the parties involved with, teenage, young folks, and, one of y'all was less than 16, and school was out, and mama was at work, so y'all slipped on over to girlfriend's house, and even if girlfriend was saying, yes, 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 and the law was saying, no, no, no. But you knew mama was at work, but what you didn't know is the nosy neighbor had mama's phone number at work, so you got caught up. You may be entitled to come off of the sexual registry under the Romeo-Juliet Act. You need to contact an attorney to find out if that's possible. There was a federal case that indicated that some of the restrictions in the law are unconstitutional. How do you measure the distance between the house and the school? Do you start at the front door? Do you start at the sidewalk? What if you live in a community where there's not enough footage for you to be that far away from any school, playground? So there may be something that you can do on that. So if that's your issue, I did have a guy that I expunged his criminal sexual conduct, 4th degree, but I could not take him off the sexual registry. That case is still going through the system. So you need to check with an attorney. There have been some that I have been able to remove from the sexual registry. So if that's your issue, you need to research that with an attorney. If your offense was an assaultive offense, all right, y'all was down in the basement with the little red light on and y'all was playing bid whist, and somebody misbid, okay, and in the process of misbidding, y'all had already killed that Mohawk and that Hennessy, and somebody got all upset, turned over the table. Next thing you know, you was swinging a table leg at your brother. Okay, y'all fighting over who did what. Because then, it started out the card game, then it was mama liked you better anyway. Before it was all over with, you got charged with felonious assault, and you haven't spoke to your brother in the last 15 years. If your offense was an assaultive offense, the prosecutor is required to contact the victim, to ask the victim their position on whether or not you get an expungement. You haven't talked to your brother in 15 years, but you still talking to mama? I suggest you call mama and ask her, how brother Billy Bob? How you doing? You know that fight we had? That was really all my fault. I never should have mixed that brown liquor with that white liquor. That really was me. You think Billy Bob, maybe he good now? We cool? I know I ain't talked to him, but family union coming up, I'm gonna make that out to Belle Isle. Talk to Billy Bob. Because Billy Bob can say, man, yeah, okay, we was both drunk. And a little something else too. The prosecutor is going to ask you for the address if you have it of the victim. If they cannot find the victim, they're going to try. But they will contact the victim if it's an assaultive offense. Let's talk about the back door. Let's talk about the back door. I said to you that some offenses cannot be expunged, or you can only have the 1 felony, 2 misdemeanors. If you got HIDA, which we talked about, if you got diversion, which we talked about, if you got plea under advisement, what we talked about, those offenses, even though they have been sealed, will now be counted towards whether or not you have 2 misdemeanors. So you got a HIDA on your first case, you were stealing cars. Then you came back, you know, it was about 3, 4 years later, and you had that weed in the car. And even though they could have got you on with the intent to deliver because you had 10 little packets in that 1 big packet, they dropped it down to simple possession, so you got 7411. Then lo and behold, you was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and here you are with another case. Now that could be 3 felonies. However, the HIDA is gonna count as a misdemeanor. The 7411 is going to count as a misdemeanor, which will still allow you to expunge that 3rd case. That's why you need to know what's on your record. Were you on one of these programs? Because that's where it's going to come into play. I told you that traffic offenses cannot be expunged. Fleeing and eluding police. That's the one that we hear about, we see the most often. Maybe that's because I do the auto theft cases. But it's a perfect example. Fleeing and eluding police can be written up under 2 separate laws. And it's kind of like up to the prosecutor which law they're going to put it under. Back in the old days, before folks really thought much about expungement, the lawyer would always ask that fleeing and eluding be written up under the vehicle code. Because you can write it up under the vehicle code or you can write it up under the criminal code. The penalty is 5 years either way you look at it. But if it was written up under the vehicle code, then you didn't have no felony because it was a vehicle, it was a traffic offense. And they didn't have computers, so traffic offense. You went on, got your job. Now they got computers. And when the background check comes up, it says fleeing and eluding police. The employer don't know the difference between a traffic code and a criminal code. All they know is you was running from the police. They got computers now. If it was written under the traffic code, it's a traffic offense, it's not expungible. If it was written under the criminal code, same penalty, it is expungible.
I'm gonna tell you, that helps the community big time. Not just because, hey, I just want a felony off my name. It's gonna help the community economically, like money-wise. I mean, they're always saying so much money in our city, but it's not going in the right places, and by having felonies off these many people, that's more opportunities for jobs for everyone, for their children to come up. Everybody seeing, the children seeing their parents sit at home all day. What you think the kids gonna do when they get older? Sit at home all day. So this is an opportunity for myself and others to get to a higher plateau. Thank you, Brenda Jones. I mean, that's awesome. Every politician is not crooked. You have politicians who know if they help the people. See what I'm saying? If you make it about the people first, it's good for everybody. You can't lose.